The BRICS Summit in Brazil is finally here. As always, people have hopes and criticisms about this annual BRICS meeting. Those who follow international politics are surely focused on the results that will come out of it. What should the world expect from the 2025 BRICS Summit? We are really looking forward to following everything that happens on the sidelines of this major event, even though we will not be there in person this time. It is fantastic to see all the different perspectives, expectations, ideas, and desires of the countries present in Rio. We asked our colleagues, guests, and friends at Think BRICS channel to share their opinions on the upcoming event and their expectations from the summit. What are their hopes for the group? What would they say directly to the BRICS leaders? Their answers reveal surprising insights. Let's see if some of the things our guests said will come true. And you, what are your expectations? What would you ask the BRICS leaders? Share your ideas in the comments and join the discussion.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Feliciano Guimarães. I'm from CEBRI, the Brazilian Center for International Relations. It is a pleasure to talk to Anastasia and to give you some thoughts about the upcoming summit here in Rio. I'm talking from Rio de Janeiro in a side event that we are organizing on the sides of the summit that is going to start in a couple of days. So far, the delegations are arriving in the city of Rio. It's a rainy day. It's going to be raining throughout the conference. High expectations here in Brazil. As far as we know, the final declaration is almost completely finalized, but a few issues yet to be negotiated. There is a hot issue here, which is the African position concerning the reform of the UNSC, the United Nations Security Council. We don't know. This is something that we saw happening in the last Minister of Foreign Affairs meeting in Rio a couple months ago, and it continues to be a complicated issue for the Brazilian delegation to finalize in the conference. But apart from that, everything that we know on the backstage is that the conference is going to be a big success. We don't have the president of China coming. Xi Jinping is not coming. Of course, the president Vladimir Putin is not coming either. The president of Egypt or Iran are not coming either as well. Although we don't have the highest representations of these countries, the expectations continues to be high because the next day after the end of the summit, President Lula will receive Prime Minister Modi in Brasilia for a state visit. So there is a lot of expectations about that. So it's a pleasure to talk to you and hopefully to talk to you again. Thank you very much.
Greetings, colleagues from BRICS Plus Analytics. So what are my expectations for the BRICS Summit in Rio? First of all, I hope to see headway and progress towards trade liberalization. This is something that I think is critical in today's world when we have tremendous protectionist pressures, and we need to see a coordinated response in the trade sphere, in the sphere of trade liberalization, coming from BRICS. The second item on the agenda, in my view, should be the cooperation amongst the regional integration blocs. This is a precondition for any substantial initiative that we may see coming out of BRICS in the sphere of trade and the sphere of investment. We have to get not just the individual countries, but also the regional integration blocs and the regional organizations of BRICS Plus on board. And thirdly, I think it's very important to create platforms of cooperation amongst the regional development institutions, the regional development banks, the regional financing arrangements. That would provide a tremendous reserve for BRICS Plus in terms of supporting financially the various initiatives that are to be launched by BRICS in the coming years. And finally, my words of gratitude to Brazil's presidency in BRICS. I believe that BRICS are tremendously fortunate to have Brazil as a member and as the presidency in the course of this year. And I do believe that Brazil is making significant strides and significant progress in bridging the divides within the global south and in positioning BRICS as one of the leaders, as a major force in reforming the global governance in the world economy. Thank you.
On the occasion of the BRICS Summit in Brazil, it is worth remembering why the BRICS movement is so important. Humanity stands at an important crossroads. As one of the high priests of the World Economic Forum in Davos disclosed, much of the strife we are experiencing in the world today stems from the conflict between two opposed systems of governance. In reality, it is a predatory attack by the Western oligarchic, neo-colonial imperialistic system of governance against the whole rest of humanity. Western system foments insecurity, forever wars, unrestrained colonial exploitation and poverty. It demands feudal subordination from every nation of the world. Disunited, all nations might ultimately succumb to the empire's predatory attack. It is therefore critical at this crossroads for humanity to unite and bring forth an alternative system of governance, one that will be conducive to liberty, prosperity, and forever peace. This is precisely the objective and the hope that BRICS represents, not only for its member nations, but for humanity as a whole. It is the alternative to neocolonialism. It is humanity's best hope to take the right turn from this crossroads and make the world a better place for the future generations. I therefore wish all participants perseverance, determination, and success in their work at the Brazil Summit today and in the future.
Greetings to the BRICS Summit. My name is Wertz. I was a close associate of Lyndon LaRouche for 48 years and president of the Schiller Institute for 27 years. I am also the author of the book, Beware the British East India Company, towards an alliance between the United States, Russia, China, and India to finally defeat the British Empire. We are now approaching the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Declaration of Independence against the tyrant King George III of Britain, who attempted to do to the American colonists what the British East India Company had already done to India. Although many today see the U.S. as the enemy, I maintain that the real enemy is the Anglo-Dutch imperial system. Today we see that the British, the Dutch, and the French are the main instigators of the war in Ukraine, and that the United States, under the leadership of President Trump, is fighting for peace not only in Ukraine, but in Africa, India and Pakistan, and the Middle East. What I hope emerges from the Rio Summit is that 3 of your founding members, Russia, India, and China, representing your aspirations for a just new world economic order, join hands with President Trump to create a new Bretton Woods system based on respect for national sovereignty and a commitment to economic development. One such a system is agreed upon by these 4 powers, whose combined power can crush the Anglo-Dutch-French opposition, then all sovereign nation states would be able to join. I believe that this is the only way to durable peace and prosperity for all. I send my best greetings to your proceedings.
My hopes for the BRICS Rio de Janeiro summit this year is that BRICS will be able to carry forward the very positive momentum of Kazan and develop, first and foremost, itself, not necessarily by creating more administration and bureaucracy, but by extending the network that it builds among the countries that are BRICS members and now BRICS partner states, that the hand will be reached out to even more countries to join in one form or another without incapacitating the entire group. I also hope that BRICS will, of course, develop the infrastructure project that it has, the financial system, the BRICS payment methods, the maybe insurance systems among these countries, and that in general BRICS will not try to copy Western institutions and become the next G7 or something like that, but chart its own course, chart its own way, and that these very different members of BRICS together manage to come up with the multipolar world that we also desperately need.
I hope that the summit in Rio, speaking as the voice of the global south, which is the global majority, issues a very strong rejection of the present geopolitical policies, which could lead to World War III in the short term. My message to the leaders of the BRICS countries would be that they should use the BRICS as the platform to put on the agenda a new international security and development architecture, which must take into account the interest of every single country on the planet. This must be done in the spirit of the Peace of Westphalia, which ended 150 years of religious war in Europe, And the war parties came to the negotiation table because they realized that nobody would survive victory because everybody would be dead. And is that not all the more true in the times of thermonuclear weapons?
Hello, this is Mr. Stephen Brawer, the chairman of the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden. I want to greet all of you who are engaged in this important conference in Brazil for the BRICS conference. I think this is the direction that will lead the world to a more just economic and general direction for global development. So from my side, I will be following the events closely. I wish all of you who are directly involved in this conference great success, and I look forward to working with you and cooperating on these objectives in the near future. I think this is the direction that will lead humanity as a whole towards a more just and better future in general. So thank you so much.
What's next for BRICS? That's the question we ask quite often. The answer is important not only for scholars, politicians, but also people who are involved in business. Rio Summit, BRICS 2025, we're gonna have a lot of challenges. There are differences between the member states of BRICS when we think about their perception of changes in international relations, conflicts, and wars. I strongly believe that the BRICS Plus, I should rather say, member countries, they have very strong agenda which can be fulfilled. Yet, it will be not easy. So my message for the leaders of the BRICS Plus countries will be: Global South is emerging. Global South has a lot to say. We already know that Global South countries will gonna emerge as stronger and more reliable countries, actors in international relations. It is time to act stronger, to act together. Maybe it is a time for BRICS to establish some permanent institutions inside the BRICS. I keep my finger crossed for the outcomes of BRICS Rio Summit. Greetings from Poland, Aleksandra Jaskulska.
Hi everyone. It's great to be a part of this Think BRICS initiative. I am Professor Vidhu Shekhar from India. You know, there are many reasons why one should be excited about BRICS. But the one reason that really appeals to me is the rich diversity it has, be it in the type of economies. You know, we have all kind of economies: consumption-driven, production-driven, resource-based, tech-innovating ones, to even the diverse cultures that are present in the group. You know, from ancient to modern, we have all of them. And therefore, I believe BRICS truly represents a microcosm of the world itself. And it is this diversity which I think gives BRICS an edge in taking the lead to create new global frameworks, be it in sustainability or financial systems, trade networks, or even broader civilizational issues that we face today. I truly believe BRICS is the right platform to shape new ideas rather than simply replicating the existing old global hierarchies. I am personally very excited about BRICS and what it can achieve in the future. Thank you.
The BRICS Summit has become the most important international event for the future of the world and humanity. Why? Because in the face of hundreds of years of a collective waste system based on imperialism, oppression, looting, and underdevelopment, the BRICS, the BRICS Plus, and their strategic partner propose a new paradigm of mutual development, cooperation, and a dialogue of civilization. Already in terms of economic and demographic power, the BRICS and their partners today represent more than the G7. So the future of the world, the future of the Global South, and humanity is being decided at this BRICS event. The next one will take place in Rio. I was present in Kazan, in Russia, and the big issue at the time was de-dollarization. We therefore need to prepare for the post-dollar era, and last year we discussed setting up new payment system in national currencies between the various countries. I hope that this discussion will continue and that this mechanism that have already been discussed, thought through, will be put in place to speed up the de-dollarization process and enable the countries of the Global South to work and develop together. We know that China has become the driving force not only of the global economy but also of the BRICS, and has become a model of development in the field of science, technology, and advanced industries, and the driving force behind the BRICS dynamics. It has also proposed several initiatives such as the New Silk Road, the Global Security Initiative, all designed to create the condition for a new paradigm, as we propose with our Schiller Institute, a new architecture of security and mutual development to prevent the world to plunge into a third world war.
Despite the rapid changing geopolitical landscape and the increasing heterogeneous group, there is still much to look forward to at this BRICS Summit. Especially, Brazil has proposed 5 very pragmatic and important agenda items that includes to promote trade and development, especially alternative payment system, to govern global AI system, to promote global South cooperation, especially in public health, to develop more financing structure for climate initiatives, and last but not least, to improve the governance structure within the BRICS groups. So I think these are really timely and very pragmatic agendas, and it will create a lot of buy-ins within the groups. And what I am particularly interested and keen to look into is new announcements and new initiatives on the alternative financing structure. So we have already seen some progressive movements and improvements in the recent months. For example, in May, the group has announced new sort of framework for climate financing and to, for example, establish tropical forest funds to increase funding for reforestation efforts. We're also seeing Algeria has become the 9th member country in the new development bank. And the NDB is also approving $40 billion in investment in key areas, including, for example, green energies. And last but not the least, I think it is expected that the groups will announce a new initiative to establish some multilateral guarantee funds, which will help to lower financing costs and to mobilize more investment financing. So I think all of these are really important and new developments in the financing scheme within the BRICS. And I think that comes at a really important and timely juncture when the Global South is facing debt crises and when there's also reducing efforts from the Global North to support development and climate financing. So it really needs more Global South efforts and led by the BRICS group to provide more Southern-led development financing and climate financing, as well as alternative payment system.
Monish Trongbam from Chintan Research Foundation, India. As we know, the BRICS Summit in Rio, leaders are going to congregate very soon. And it transpires at a time of intense global churning, which makes it all the more imperative for the leaders to come across with a consensual statement which provides continuity and stability to a world order which is uncertain. And it should give a forward-looking document which looks at how to close the gaps in achieving the sustainable development goals and also to provide institutional mechanisms for technology governance in the 21st century. In terms of how I would expect the BRICS leaders to come about in terms of forging a South-South cooperation for the Global South. As we know, BRICS members are increasing manifold. And in these times of increasing membership of BRICS, I think it's all the more important for the BRICS leaders to maintain cohesiveness and to maintain the true purpose of BRICS, which is to shape an effective multilateralism in a time in which multilateralism seems to be in crisis in a multipolar world, and not to lose sight of the bigger picture, so to say, not to lose sight of the forest while looking for the trees. Thank you very much, and I hope and wish that we all see a very successful BRICS Summit in Rio, which will lead forward to another successful BRICS Summit, which is going to be held successively and hosted in India. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Gustavo de Carvalho. I'm a senior researcher at the South African Institute of International Affairs. I'm currently in Rio, where I'm following a number of the discussions that are happening around the BRICS Summit that is happening on 6th and 7th of July 2025. I think this is a very important year for BRICS, where we are seeing the Brazilian presidency starting with some difficult choices to make. BRICS was squeezed between the Brazilian G20 presidency in 2024 and the COP30 that is going to happen in late November in Belém in Brazil. But that, I think, it brought a very important impetus within their presidency to really try to rationalize, to provide more predictability within BRICS discussions, that it became one of the main priorities for 2025 that relates to the issue of institutionalization. We are expecting that during the summit, members will be able to approve the new terms of reference that provides more clarity in terms of what are the members, what are the roles, what are the responsibilities, what are the role of the partners, what are the role of institutions like BRICS Plus, the outreach program that BRICS has. And I think that in addition to this, we should be seeing many decisions that in relation to very tangible things for BRICS members, whether it's discussions and decisions around the eradication of socially determined diseases, whether it's the approval of the Action Plan 2025-2028 on agricultural cooperation. I think perhaps less so in terms of developments on the issues on local currencies and systems of payments, but they keep moving forward. And my message, I think, to members is let's ensure that BRICS continues within this new phase in an expanded BRICS with a clear idea of who we are, what do we do, how do we follow up, and how do we ensure that we're using our mechanisms more optimally, with less duplication, more focus, and ensuring that the voluntary and selective and consensus-based nature that BRICS has is strengthened. The expanded BRICS is very important within the context of a very fragmented global order, but at the same time, we live in a period where we need to rethink what is the best way that BRICS can be and do in order to achieve its intended objectives. Thank you very much.
Rani Taludar. I'm from Chintan Research Foundation, India. And today I'm going to talk about my expectations from the BRICS Summit, which is going to happen shortly. So I feel there will be talks regarding the US tariffs because it has been imposed across all the countries, including the BRICS members. Then there will be talks on the non-disruption of supply chains, including on the critical rare earth minerals. Then there will be also deliberations on the future energy security, including the oil and gas price, because the important oil and gas producing countries, which is Russia, then also Iran and Saudi Arabia, they are all members of the BRICS. So there will be deliberations on this aspect. Then I feel there might be passing deliberation on the the official recognition of Taliban by Russia. But as I said, it might happen. I'm not that much sure, but it might happen. Then what I would like to see, from the summit will be better connectivity projects for the development of trade and economy all across. Then also a common platform for open and free access to critical rare earth minerals and non-control and non-domination by any one single power. That's very important. And my message for the leaders of the BRICS will be to really create an inclusive world by bringing global south and global north closer through interdialogue and cooperation, because this is going to be important. And also to provide a platform for greater north-south intellectual exchanges with growing cross-pollination among researchers across diverse fields. So really, thank you so much once again.
Hello to the BRICS community. Here's Alex LSK, the analyst of Geopolitics. Just wanted to give you my thoughts and my hopes for this year BRICS Summit. This year, we really need strong leadership. We want a lot of things. We're just watching, and we're hoping that you're gonna continue to build, and the leaders gonna build the institution that match our rhetoric. We want you to act with clarity, sovereignty, and vision. And we just want you to, in this year that was very full of events everywhere, we just want strong leadership. That's what we need. We want to see more and more digital access, energy topics, sustainable infrastructure, and de-dollarization. You just know the deal. Continuing what we already do, but do it with more clarity, vision, leadership. Very important for this year. And we're looking at you, and we're really waiting for the results of this year's summit.